success stories told by the people who live them.
We're going to have some guests on this show that everybody knows, and we're going to have guests on this show that nobody knows yet.
One by one, Nick Hyder is adding hits to the hit streak.
Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hit Streak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder, and I got an extra special treat for you in the building with me today in the Hit Lab. I've got none other than the Lipscomb University Bison's head baseball coach, Jeff Forehand. And not only that, folks, he was my coach in college. We'll just say it was a while ago. Coach, thanks so much for being here, man. It's so great to have you. I'm really excited.
Well, thank you guys for having me here too. It's fun to connect again. Like we said, we hadn't seen each other in a while, and we have to do something like this to get to hang out. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I know all of my former teammates are really going to enjoy this one. They were all of them went back and listened to Kyle's episode, and I got great feedback from that. So this is going to be a good time, man.
Looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. All right, so let me tell the folks a little bit about you. So you, first of all, you come from, you're in the family business, let's just say, right? So your dad, Fred Forehand, who was also my dad's baseball coach, if I'm not mistaken, the field at Montgomery Bell Academy is named after him, right?
Correct.
All right, so I know he had a big impact on your life. How'd all that work out? What was it like growing up in that household?
I think just growing up, it was baseball, football, basketball all the time, and I would travel with him and be with him, and he was going to a game, I was going to a game, and it just kind of evolved into, baseball is what he did the most and what I enjoyed doing the most, and so just kind of evolved into that's like you said, the family business, and I just have enjoyed, now 30 years of doing it, and it seems like
wow.
We just started yesterday, but going into over 30 now, so just a really cool thing, and the opportunity to, for what he did, what I saw him do for so many other people, other kids, and having the opportunity to do it myself is a blessing.
Well, our daddies are always our heroes, and they're larger than life, and when we follow in their footsteps, everything that I've done that my dad did before me, I've always felt like it wasn't as good, because that was as good as it got. He set the bar. One of the biggest lessons I learned in playing for you was the importance of the whole entire family buying into that career and that dream. Obviously, your wife Karen should wear a cape. Because she's a superhero, right? Both your kids were at all the games. Your mom never missed one and always had the biggest smile on her. It was like she was watching you coach the first game.
That's right.
Every game, right? How big of an impact did that have on you and your ability to be as successful as you've been?
I think all coaches' wives and coaches' families, are special because you're not only raising your kids, you're raising everybody else's kids as well, and that's part of the deal. You do it for, we all like to win. We talked about that before. We like to win the games, but at the end of the day, when you come back and you can see the success of your players, not only that they had success on the field, now they're all families and their kids are growing up, and you see where they're moving into the next phase of life for them is kind of where we were when I started over there with you guys. My kids were young, and now that your kids, you guys' kids are in the same spot now, some of you, and that's what's fun, and to see you guys, take what, maybe some of the guidance that you got at Trevecca, and take that into the next step is really cool as well.
So let me tell everybody a little bit about the history here. So I told everybody knows you as the Lipscomb University baseball coach, where you've been for how many seasons have you been there now?
16.
16. Golly, it seems like yesterday. So, but prior to that, you were the head coach at Trevecca Nazarene University, where I played for you. And you, I remember, and you were there for 6 years.
Right.
And the first year was awful. That was the first time you'd lost. It was the first time I'd lost, and we lost a lot.
Seemed like it went walk, error, double, didn't it?
Yeah, every time.
Walk, error, double.
And some of us were able to find some joy in that usually on the weekends. But in 6 years, it didn't take that long. But by the time you definitely is one of those situations where you left it better than you found it, because you won a lot of ball games there, and you had a win. And honestly, to overcome the record we had the first season, and then let's see,
15-40. I remember it vividly.
15-40. That's right. It was terrible. But let's see, what was your record when you left Trevecca? It was way bigger than that. I don't think I have it on my sheet, but you won a lot of ball games there.
Yeah, no idea, but we did get it turned around on the field, and I think that was part of the. You get better players, and you get guys that we started moving, and you guys set the groundwork and allowed it to be able to take off a little bit. But I think some of the things that we go back, and Karen and I talk about, just the memories of what was going on at Trevecca, because it was a family environment. It was, when you get to college sometimes, and especially nowadays at the level where we are now, it's not the same as it was then. And families were involved, and we were trying to make the ends meet budget wise, and we were trying to be able to how are we going to get the bus to get to this game, and it just seemed like it was a whole family involvement of everybody wanted to see the success. And then I think just the type of person that we were able to attract there was just, we had 5-star people, and we had guys that and we talk about that all the time in our program now. 5-tool players are a dime a dozen, and you're looking, everybody wants to find that 5-tool player, but what we're trying to do now, and I think we were trying to do it over there, we just didn't say it. We're trying to find 5-tool people. Yeah. And we're able to do that. And my dad, your dad, everybody that's put together a team, you put together a team where you are right now. You want to find good people.
That's right.
And you find good people, and you surround yourself with good people. And that sounds cliche, but it is. You get good people and you usually get good results, whether that's on the field or off.
Well, it only took you a couple years to win 40 games in a season. That's a big deal in any college schedule, to win 40 games. And they thought enough of it that in 2015 they announced that you were being inducted into the Hall of Fame there.
Well, that was pretty cool, and I give that credit to Brad Kuhn. They put him in long before they put me in, and when he showed up at Trevecca, I thought things started changing. Terrence McLean and Chris Collins and all those guys that put us on the map. And then when Brad got there, our team really took off, and 40 plus wins, and those kinds of things. And then you go back and all the guys that played with Brad and the friendships that they have now, and Kyle Feltz to Nick Bodner and Stipe Miocic, that's that's
incredible
fighter, and you go back to Zach Hilliard, Matt Bonds, and I'm going to leave somebody out that was really a big part of all that. But those guys to this day are just such close friends, and just the chances, the accolades of getting put in the Hall of Fame and that's great. But you go back and like I said, Karen and I just cherish the memories of those families and what we were able to get out of all that during that time there. And it was just so special to look back on it. And man, that was just a great evolving of, Trevecca baseball had been really good. And then I think we got it established back again, before I left.
Absolutely. Well, so none of us really. I had never lost before that one season. Well, that's not true. We didn't win a whole lot my freshman year before you got there. But it was hard to. It wasn't something that we enjoyed doing. You won a lot as a player. You played at Belmont University across town for the legendary Dave Whitten. What was it like? Man, I love hearing stories about Coach Whitten.
Well, there were just so many stories. I mean, Coach Whitten, you just felt like, you were playing with a legend, when he was coaching you, and some of the stories that we can talk about, probably can't talk about on this show about what he would say to some players, and some of the things that I still do today, just things that we do when we take care of the field, and just little things that Coach Whitten would come back and show us how to do. I mean, we're still doing it today, and Coach Whitten was a blessing to all of us being able to play for him. But just him showing us the way at a level where I didn't know what I was expecting when I got there, but still do some of the things today that he showed us back in 1985.
Mm-hmm. And you guys played out at your home field with Shelby Park out there. That's nuts, man. That's crazy.
Well, it started out being Greer Stadium, and then Shelby Park, and then that connects back to your dad, and all my growing up. I grew up in Shelby Park, so just a just a really cool connection of how all this has just come together. And I told somebody the other day, I've been really fortunate that through 30 years of doing this, I haven't had to leave. I hadn't had to move. Mm-hmm. In my house, I've been in Nashville for 55 years, and coaching 30 of those. A lot of times coaches have to relocate, and I've been fortunate not to have to do that. So all my time in Nashville has been within this baseball community, which is really a cool thing.
So let's talk a little bit about the family dynamic, because I'm very blessed that my wife supports all the crazy ideas that I come home with, and whether she believes in it or not, she sure makes me feel good about it, and she smiles, and I can still remember I used to drive by your old house on the way to campus from where I lived, and I can still remember seeing Karen run down the road with Brooks in that running stroller.
That's right.
I mean, like, she was always in tip-top shape. And like, you guys had, with your kids, you guys had more responsibilities than the average parent. And I know a lot of that fell on her.
Well, it did. And she was at every game. She's running the concession stand. My idea that we're going to make a few dollars and, stuff the coupons in the Titan Stadium to, fundraise some money for the program. And she was right there doing it with us. And Brooks was rolling right along and doing the same thing. And, Gant runs his lawn care company now, and learning how to drive the gator on the ball field, back in that day. And, so all those memories are just really, really cool. And, but like we said before, none of this, all of us coaches, have families that have grown up in it. And, whether, like you and I followed in the footsteps, and baseball was one of the things that we really, really like to do. Gant, he tried it for a while and it wasn't for him, but he learned some of what he's doing today by being on the ball field. I mean, your dad had influence on him when he was, 7 or 8 years old, and letting him cut the grass and drag the field at Shelby Park, and, all those little things that just continue on to make, what families are today in this baseball community has helped mold my family. But hopefully I've been able to do that with some of the guys that I've had the pleasure to coach as well.
What's some of the what advice would you have? I know for me, when I get focused on something, I'm like laser focused, and it's really all I can think about, and consumes a lot of my time as far as my thoughts go. What's some advice on how you've been able to maintain the work life balance?
It just never stops, and that's one of the things that, I was just talking with our basketball coach over at school just, a few weeks ago about it. And, what we've got going on now in college athletics is it's just there's no downtime. There's no off time, because you're constantly trying to make it better, and you're constantly have this vision of what you're looking for your team to accomplish during the season. And the vision, it's a nonstop, all day, every day. You wake up with it, you go to bed with it, you try to think that, you fall asleep to it, and you're just trying to do everything you can to make your team as good as it can be. And I think it's actually driving some people out. There's been, a lot of young coaches are leaving the college game and going into professional baseball and professional sports, because there is some time off. For us, I'm managing 35 or 40 young men, and their lives don't stop. And if you're invested in them more than just what's going on the field, you have to do it that way. And you can see some of these guys that are retiring early, or changing professions, going into the professional ranks. And I think it's simply because there's not an off season for the coach, because there's times that you still have to be preparing your team for what's coming next. And even in the toward the end of this summer, I mean, we're still trying to put the finishing touches on our team coming up for this fall, and we're always working on what's going to happen next year and the following year. And where college athletics is going, we're in a difficult time right now. We're in a tough spot, and makes it even tougher for coaches and families to really have that time that we need together. But if you cherish it and you embrace it, sometimes that baseball is what has made why our families are strong. I think because of the connectivity to your family and all the games and the time spent. So I look at it as it's a bonus, and it was a great thing for my family. But we are in a spot now to where all of us coaches and all of our coaching families we're connected in one goal, and that's to win the next one. That's what we're trying to do.
That's right. Well, you've had you mentioned the investment that you're making in these young men. So, first of all, what are some, like, with all the technology and the internet and social media and everything else, my son just finished his 12-year-old baseball season. So, and I coach that team, and so I have relationships with those kids' parents and everything else. And I'm amazed at how far of a stretch, like, the spectrum is on people's thoughts and opinions on what it takes, like what you got, like what you might look for in a kid, like, I guess it was, I think it was Coach Dave Jarvis, that when we were passing by and I asked him, I was like, hey man, do you pay attention to kids' social media? He said, dude, we look at their Twitter before we even go watch them play. Like, what are some things that, like, you guys look for in players, from leadership capabilities, grades, tools?
I think there's now you've got so much information that's out there. The number one thing is I like to get to the source of the person that they've been around the most. How is this person, off the field? You go watch them play, and anybody can go, you see that, well, this guy's the best player on the field. And again, all the people that we are recruiting are usually, if not the best player, one of the best players on the field that come and play for us, because that's right. The level where we are. So anybody can pick that out. But at the end of that, how do they handle the adversity when you go watch them play and they go 0 for 4? How do they handle that? If they're pitching and you go watch a guy pitch and he has a bad day, how's he handling it? What's he doing when he pops up or strikes out? Does he come back to the dugout and is he chopping the bat rack down because he's upset about it? Is he slamming his helmet? Is he, how does he handle, grounding out? Does he run the ground ball out? We watched a kid the other day. It was a young kid, and I was just disappointed that, he popped up, umpire make a bad call, his body language was bad. Next pitch, he got down 2 strikes, and he popped the ball up to center field, and he got about 45 feet down the line. Bat hadn't been dropped yet, still had it in his hand, and he peeled off and went to the dugout before even getting halfway to first base. That guy might turn into Mike Trout. He might turn into the best baseball player ever. But when you're looking at that and you're seeing that, I think now that's what we're having to teach a little bit more, because we're all these kids now have been raised in this society of where if I don't have success in this travel ball, because the travel ball is what's going to get me to play in college, and if I don't have all this success, then everybody's been driven from themselves to mom and dad to grandma, granddad. Everybody's just hanging on every thread of their success in every game. And we all know baseball is a game of failure.
Yes.
So you're hanging on every bit of success. And when you pop one up, did you round first hard and make a hard turn? And let me see you go get your glove. And are you the first guy back out on defense ready to make the next play? That's what I look at, because you can go watch a guy and you never want to judge somebody on their worst day or on their best day. I mean, if we were all judged on our worst day, boy, we'd be having some hard times, and you don't want to be judged on that. So when I go watch you play, I may get to see you once or twice, and wow, are you going to hit a homer? Are you going to go 3 for 4 and hit 2 home runs and drive in 4 runs? Or are you going to go 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts and you make a couple errors? And then how do you handle yourself after that? And I think that's one of the things where you can see how a kid's built and where his heart is. And then you always lean back on, what his family situation looks like and how he's been raised. And when you've talked to people that are close to them, and you get that guy, and we see what we see, and we know what we know about players. Everybody can kind of determine the guy can play a little or he can't. But at the end of the day, you want to find that guy that can play some, that's got that great attitude, that's going to end up being the five tool
That's right.
person on your team that's going to be able to add some value even when he's not hitting doubles and homers.
I read a quote the other day where you measure a man by what he does after failure, what he does next after failure. That's how you measure a man.
That's right. And we have a quote on our team. We say, "How you do anything is how you do everything."
That's right.
And I had to make a tough decision that, and you know me, man, I'm gonna love up on you, man. I'm gonna bring you in, and when things aren't going well, and strength coach tells me we're not getting it done in the weight room, and I got to bring you in and say, hey, strength coach is saying, hey, we're not doing X. It's like, hey, man, I need some more effort in there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I have to drag you,
yeah,
and then what me and my coaching staff would talk about it all the time, if we have to drag you into being giving a better effort in the weight room, or being a better student, or caring about your grades, or doing the small things like that, then on the field it's going to be really difficult for you, because how you do anything is how you do everything.
That's right.
So if you're going to be a below average student, and we've had some of those in my time that have been good players, but at the end of the day, boy, you want to have success in that as well. And we had to make some changes, and we made some changes, and you go back and we had over a 3.4 grade point average for 40 guys on our team this past year. We got guys that the culture is moving in a direction that, it took a dip, and now with culture is moving in a different direction. We won 35 games this year. Is that a direct reflection? I have to think so. And I think that's a total team effort, from my coaching staff to the nutritionist to the strength coach to the academic lady to our administration, and how everybody has put forth their best effort to help these kids be successful. And that's what Lipscomb University does. Lipscomb puts these people in a position, not only to make you a better ball player, make you a better student, make you, as your faith walk is all the things that we try to do at Lipscomb to help you. I think is, if we can find that kind of guy, then we're going to have success, continue to have success on the field. Absolutely.
You used to say, and I may say it backwards, I use it for Ethan's team all the time, because you got 12 kids you can only put 9 out there at a time, and so it was you got to put the 9 best for that game, not the best 9. Did I say it right?
That's
all right. So, and that's kind of, when you're recruiting, you're looking for all those things, because if I'm reading this right, if I'm hearing you right, you got academics and all the personal stuff, and then you got what's on the field. If the academics are down, that's something you got to worry about, and that means that, boy, the athletic part better pick up a lot of that slack somewhere if it's got to. If
you're a bad person and you're not adding any value to our team, academically, teammate wise, all the stuff off the field. If you're not adding any value to that, you better be hitting a lot of doubles and homers, or you better be striking a lot of guys out, because it's really hard for the coach, the team, to really be able to put up with that. Because at the end of it, you can go think back on guys on your team that were really good players that, sometimes that coach had to have some difficult conversations with them, and it's just hard when all that doesn't come together. And I think that that's what we're all looking for.
Yeah,
we're looking for that guy that can add some value, because you guys were all good players, and now you're all great people. And hopefully Trevecca had something to do to help you guys, and
100%.
Hopefully Lipscomb has done the same with these guys that leave out of there, because some of these guys that come play at Lipscomb, they didn't even know what Lipscomb was when the recruiting process started.
Yeah.
They transferred from big school X, Y, or Z, and now they're at Lipscomb. And if you ask them, did you even know what Lipscomb was in the recruiting process? And they say they the high percentage of them would say they didn't even know what Lipscomb, what it was, where it was, what it was about. And now they find themselves engulfed in the middle of a cool place that is showing them the way in a lot of aspects, and not just in athletics or on the field.
You talked about the consistency and the importance of something as small as running out a pop fly every single out, every single at bat. People pick at me all the time. We talked about it yesterday about how, like, I walk in, and if something's not exactly where it needs to be, I fix it. All those little things matter to me. And when they ask me about it, I'm like, I look at the best of anything, right? So if it's the best, if it's the best family attraction, Disney, every day Disney's open, it's the same quality every single day. You're the top restaurant in town, whether it's Tuesday or Saturday, it's the same quality. They put the same effort.
Right.
They do the same things. And so I'm always telling my son, I'm like, it's another at bat. Why is that one not as important as the one that you did run out on? Like, they all matter the same. And when you treat life that way and you give everything your best, the good things usually follow.
100%. And that I think sometimes, when we were talking about it earlier, when kids don't have immediate success in whatever, they just are ready to pitch the towel in, because that's not what the society and the world that they live in at the moment. They just want to have that immediate success in everything that comes down the road for them. And, you know, baseball's hard. Yeah. You know, it's hard to have success in doing, you know, being a pitcher. It's hard to have success as a hitter. It's hard to, you know, but when you practice at it as much as we do, you know, I just feel like that, you know, these kids have, you know, they've all excelled. And then when they do hit some failure, sometimes college is the first time they fail. Yes. Because they have been the best little leaguer. They have been the best Babe Ruth player, and now they're all the way up to travel ball. They've been, and now they're playing Division I baseball, and now the playing field is level because everybody's as good as you are. And I think that's sometimes when kids hit that failure mark, sometimes it's not until they get to us, and then now you got to help them be able to get through that and figure out, you know, what's next.
You guys are playing at an incredibly high level of baseball. Like, it's about as good as it gets. So that was, I think, the biggest thing from when I played my last college game. And again, the game has evolved a lot, especially at the college level. It's closer now to the professional level, and as far as how it operates and everything else, than it was back then. So this is a funny story. So back then, just like we were just talking about, if we took the field, anything that we did, once we got inside those gates, it had to be at full speed, 100%, right? So did I ever tell you the story about my first strikeout in professional ball and how they find me when I ran back to the dugout?
You've told me, yeah.
They met me back at the steps, right? So, I'm saying all that because, like, so you guys are recruiting children, 17. They're I guess some of them are technically adults. I wasn't. I wasn't until I was in my mid-30s, I don't think. Right. But you're sitting down with these parents, and you're basically saying, like, hey, you know, your baby that's never left the house before, I need him for 4 years, out of town, right? And then on the flip side, it's a business, and you're expected to win. You're expected to win because there's Lipscomb has a rich tradition of winning for a long time. Right. And those alumni care.
That's right.
A lot. There's a lot of pride in that program, right? So
they don't care that we're playing in the league with Trevecca Union and Freed Hardeman, and now we're playing Notre Dame, Auburn, and Mississippi State. It doesn't matter who we're playing. That's right. The expectation is still the same. You still are trying to win the game.
So that's a really fine line, and I think it comes with a great responsibility. You got to handle, you know, there's a business and there's a family aspect to it and dynamic. Because it is, as a parent now, I can start to see what that might feel like and how those parents might feel from the other side of the table, right? So, what's some of the things that you've learned? So the first year when I played for you, you were out recruiting kids from out of town. What was that like going from, because you'd coached in high school where you guys had just won state championship, winning was a habit. So, like, what was that like?
It was really, you know, I just felt like, you know, I'm going to go out there and, you know, I always say you make the big league. The big leagues are where you are, and you make the big leagues where you are. And I thought when I got to Trevecca, you know, with all of the things we had to fix and make right, you know, when we were there, it was the big leagues. Mm-hmm. And when I went out and trying to find additions to our team, I felt like everybody in the country wanted to come play at Trevecca. That was what was my vision, but that's not really what reality was, because nobody, you know, there was a whole lot lower percentage of people that wanted to actually end up playing at Trevecca than played there. Right. But what I think everybody would have said in those 6 years that we were there, we made the big leagues. That's right. Where we were. And nobody knew that, boy, we were scrapping to get, I'm trying to buy baseballs from the underground and, get them cheaper, and we need more baseballs to do this. And y'all didn't know, man, it cost $500 to buy a case of baseballs. And
Nope.
Y'all didn't know that how we were trying to figure out to make that work. Y'all just felt like, boy, Trevecca's just taking care of us. And
That's right.
The bus that we had a rain out, and I had to pay for the bus when we rained out and drove to the game and came back. I was like, where are we going to get that money? And somehow the good Lord provided for us, and we were taken care of. But I think that all of that, and to answer your question about the recruiting, is that I just felt like everybody wanted to come. Why wouldn't you want to come here? Because we're making it the big leagues.
In business, all business comes down to sales, because if there's no revenue, there's no business, right? They're out of business, and you're in sales. You are 100% in sales. You're selling these parents and these kids that you got the best spot for them.
That's right.
For the next chapter of their life.
Our AD just talks about when parents drop their kids off, they're turning them over to us because we're going to be with them more in the next 4 years than their parents were when their parents had them for the first 17 or 18. Now they're going to be with us, and hopefully we can just pick up. We've recruited the right people. The families have raised them to the point where we can take over and just try to add something to, the painting that they've already painted. Hopefully we can just add something to it and, find that kid that, we can take care of them and help them move on into the next part of life and help them become better sons, husbands, and fathers. That's it.
So what's something that stands out? Everybody always has one. Like I have it. I've talked about it many times on this show. What's the 30 years of doing this? What would you say is your biggest, the biggest failure you had to overcome?
Everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
And learning that there's no limits on what my expectation coming in of player X and player Y and player Z, I had to just realize that I have to take away all the limits and don't limit anybody to be any different. If I brought John in to be the leadoff batter and the center fielder, and he ended up being the first baseman and batting seventh, that didn't matter. I have because everything in life you put an expectation on, and you're either disappointed or you're joyed because you're overjoyed because it worked out or it didn't work out. So me limiting, I'm bringing a guy in here who's going to be the starting pitcher on Friday night. Well, that guy could really make a significant contribution. I may set him up for failure if I brought him in thinking this is what this guy's going to do, and the expectation he has to do this, or it's a failure when. Just come in and see where it evolves. I know I've got a good player. Let's develop him and see where that's going to take us. And I think my biggest struggle is just putting my own expectations on what I feel like the individual player is going to do, and then what I feel like our team is going to be able to do. So I think, if I had to go back and just erase, some of that, I would go into it and approach it of what my expectations would be for each individual player and just let it develop, because I know I've got the right person, and let's see how that happens on the field.
How one of the greatest things about being a college and a professional level athlete is that you're around a certain level of person. Okay. And we talk about, one of the things we talk about a lot here at Team Hyder on the show is how important your habitat is for your growth, right? So, if you have a young kid and he's hanging out with somebody that gets in trouble all the time, you say you can't hang out with him anymore. Yet at some point in time as adults, we stop auditing our circles, right? And for me, maturity levels, I grew a lot as a player because I was with such awesome people. Like, I figured out that, I probably could have played a lot longer and farther had I believed certain things differently, had I had more confidence in myself. I probably played further than what I actually believed I could do. I just kept showing up.
Yeah.
And that's part of it too. But people that expect to win usually win. And and a buddy of mine says, you got those people that walk in, they're like, oh, they get by the scratch off. I never win, or I never win this game, or he's like, dude, get those people out, because they're bringing a dark cloud with them when they come. And you're basing a lot of these recruits off of, I mean, how much do you really know about these kids when you're bringing them in, their families? Because I know as a coach for youth level, the kids are great. It's the parents that ruin the experience.
Right. And a lot of times you don't know. You don't know until, because especially when we were talking about earlier, when we did a lot of recruiting, during the COVID setting, we were doing it on Zoom call, and you don't get a chance to know the parents as much as you want to. So you have to rely on, other people to give you the information about this person. And, we've hit on a lot and we've missed on some, and but at the end of the day, you're either gonna flourish when you get to Lipscomb, and what the expectation is when you get there. You either have it or you don't, and then a lot of times it weeds itself out. But it's just you can't win them all. You can't get them all exactly right. You just put as much homework in on it as you possibly can, and then you see where that's going to go. And the team that I adopted when I got to you guys, and the team that I adopted at Lipscomb, again, I think you guys were screaming for something. Lipscomb's guys were wanting something different than what was going on there in the past. And again, I didn't really know what that was, and then I just tried to find this atmosphere that, man, we're going to love each other up, and we're going to have a blast doing what we do. And then hopefully, back then, culture really wasn't the word that we were doing. We were doing it, but we didn't really know that, man, we're trying to develop this great culture. All we're trying to do is be good people and add some value to each other and win a few games and have fun doing it.
That's
and I
right.
think that, all the guys that you look back on teams you played with, and all the guys that y'all were looking for something different than. And when it came in, boy, this was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah,
and
it was.
And whether we lost a bunch of games that first year, but again, y'all still look back and you were a part of something to getting that back established to where it is. And then now look at where Trevecca is. They're playing in the World Series, Division II level. I mean, it's just a great thing that you guys, that I feel like I was a part of, and that you guys were a part of there. And same thing at Lipscomb. We just, the players that I got to know that first year. I didn't recruit them. I didn't know them. But, boy, now we got a bond that just lasts forever, and it's just so special to every time I get to see those guys.
You had a knack for bringing out the best in people, and that's something that I don't even know if you do it or realize you do it, but you do it really, really well. And everybody has bad moments. Nobody's undefeated. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's got skeletons in a closet somewhere. But what we saw was always just like, when I look back, like a lot of the ways that, first of all, like my son is the greatest gift God ever gave me was my son, because, and my daughter would be like, hey, obviously, but like from the fact that when he has his bad moments, it's literally like God's saying, like, look what you look like. Like, I'm like, holy crap, look what I look like that. Look how foolish he is. And that's what I look like too. We never saw that out of you. You know what I mean? Like, it was always, you guys always led a great example with the family dynamic. And I don't think I've ever heard you say a curse word.
Well, I try, but that's again, the family dynamic, and just if you go about your business and it's your passion, and it's what you want to do, and it's something that you wake up to every day. And, I don't feel like I go to work, I get to keep playing ball, and it's just and I don't look at it that way. I just want guys to be influenced and inspired by, the platform that we got. And, if that's baseball, if that's, being a great teammate, if that, whatever that might be. And, sometimes I wouldn't say, out of all these 30 years of doing it, I'm sure I've let as many people down as I've lifted up. But at the end of the day, I really, I was thinking about a guy this morning when I came to work. I heard a song that when it came on the radio that, man, when we won a championship at Good Pasture, and I thought about this kid that, that it's just, and I called him, and I hadn't talked to him in in months, maybe even years. And it just on my mind. I called him, and we caught up for 15 minutes, and that's what's cool about all these years of doing it. So blessed to be able to see you guys and you guys' families grow up and all the way back to. Only bad thing about it is it makes me feel really old now that I see all you guys grown up and doing your thing.
Well, but all your hair is still there. Like it's still got the same color it had way back in the day. I know I have to. Some of mine's altered a little bit.
That's right. That's right. A lot of things that might be breaking down, but I can still see, and I still got my hair, so I'm doing all right.
That's right. And is your wife still cutting it?
Nope, we had to stop that. We had to cut that out. I think after she cut yours one night, after your dad messed it up one night, Coach, my hair's messed up, and so Karen fixed your hair. So we had to we opted out. That was maybe a family dynamic that needed adjusting, where we could still be happily married.
Well, that is a true story. That my dad messed up my hair, and I still don't know why.
Dog shears, remember?
Yeah, it's the only time he'd ever cut my hair. I don't know why we did that. I don't know what sparked that. I don't remember. But then it was.
He called me 10 o'clock at night. He called and said, "Hey, it's Karen there. She got to fix my hair."
That's right. And I went over to his house, and she cut it down in their downstairs. I'll never forget that, man. It was bad. It was bad. All right. So, what was so? All right, we're gonna get real for a second. You ready? A lot of people ask. So there is all the people in my life today. There's two chapters in my life. There's my baseball life, and there's everything after. My wife never saw me play. My son never see me play. When I got done playing all the adult league invitations, like when I was done, and I never went back and did it one time. So they ask me all the time, what was it like? What kind of a player were you? What was it like? So what was it like coaching me?
Nick Hyder was a smart player. Obviously being in the catching position, I felt like you always knew what was coming next. I remember one game at Union, we put a play on that we never play. We never use. Fake and slash, first and second. We always bunt them up. You showed bunt the first time. We put fake and slash on the next time, and you executed it perfectly. And we probably hadn't talked about that 5 times, but I can remember that play, and that play was executed perfectly. And that's a low percentage play, one you rarely practice. And we had put it in, it was there, you executed it perfectly, we drove a run in, and I look back on that and it's like, wow, that in a nutshell could say, man, this guy was prepared for the situation and the next situation. And being a catcher, I felt like that was something that your best quality is you obviously had some skill and some physical ability, but you were a smart, cerebral player.
Any stories that the people would want to know?
Oh yeah, we got plenty of stories. Even Jordan Baker, I'm trying to get practice started, and I got them all together, and the next thing I know, Hyder and Baker are back there just messing around and not paying attention. So I punched them both out of practice in my young day. I mean, I don't do that anymore. I'm soft now, but back in that day, I punched them out of practice. They couldn't understand why. And you can come back tomorrow, but today you're out. You're messing me up. So that's one of the stories. They'd punch them out. And I know where Jordan Baker is right now, but if he's listening, he remembers.
That's right.
He can't deny that.
So you had, so one of your best friends is R.A. Dickey, the great R.A. Dickey. And it was so, like, not a lot of folks, get this, folks. We used to have our, all colleges do this. You play like at the end of the fall season, you come together and you break up into multiple teams or 2 teams and you compete against each other, right? So the inter-squad World Series, as we called it, right? But you brought Degum R.A. Dickey back, who had a team.
Yeah.
And he played shortstop. And
did it all.
Pitch, hit third,
yeah,
the whole 9.
Yeah.
How cool that was. You played.
Yeah.
You played. And you were a good player. Like, you weren't just like some out or anything like that.
I was young now. I can't do it anymore. I pull a hamstring. But R.A. still, like, we talk about that day, it was like he already had his team picked. He already knew who he wanted to. Heck, one year he came off his last start for Texas, and he pitched the last game in September, and was playing in our inter-squad world. His next start was the inter-squad World Series, that was when he was a conventional guy and throwing at 90+ miles an hour, and so those times are all really special. And we look back now he's got a kid that's playing that's 14 or 15 years old, and I actually talked to him yesterday. So just a lot of special memories, and what a good person. And for you guys to get to know him was really cool.
Absolutely. There's another player that's gone on to do great things. We were talking about him pre-show in Caleb Joseph, and like I think a lot of that young man. All right, because being in Nashville baseball, being a little bit older than him, and being an umpire, that's how we made money back in the day and stuff. Him, Mookie, David Price, all of them. I got to umpire all of them, and they were all really, really good. But Caleb is like the development of a human that you want to see everybody make. Like, he's done it.
That's right.
He's done it. Talk a little bit about what you've seen, because he's gone. I mean, he had a long career as a player, and he'll probably, like my cousin was that way. My cousin was an organizational guy that played 20 years, 10 years in the bigs, but then did TV and radio for the Red Sox for another 10 or 20. And
Caleb could do whatever he wanted to in this game. I mean, he is a good a baseball guy as I know, and he is the epitome of son, husband, and father. And back then I didn't even know what that was. That was not even a thing that we even talked about. But I hope that, and he had his trials and tribulations like you and Baker. I mean, we've had some moments with that, but his development and his maturing through all these years, and now he's got a beautiful family. He's one of those that now is, like I said, who knows, you're going to look up and he might be managing the big league team at some point, because he's such a good person, was a fabulous player, and is, like I said, baseball mind is over the top. So one of these days we're hopefully going to end up coaching together one of these days before this old guy finishes up doing it. And then, we've talked about it many, many times, and one of these days I really feel like that our paths are going to cross, and we're going to be able to do it together. But nobody should be surprised if he's managing in the big league someday.
So, that's kind of a popular topic around town. Some of the great coaches here in college baseball in Nashville you guys have all been there for a while. You, Coach Jarvis, even Coach Corbin, right? So, you're 30 years in. Like, what's the future look like for you? Like, so are you just shutting it down when people are like, Coach, are you almost done? Are you just shutting that stuff down?
I talk about it all the time, but what else am I going to do? I mean, this is what we enjoy, and it's getting harder. But again, it's just, it's not, it's different than it used to be, but it's still my passion. It's still what I want to do. And, I think Coach Jarvis and I are good friends. We talk about it a lot. And, I don't know anybody's on the verge of retiring, but it's what we get to do is such a special thing. And when you've done it as long as we have, I don't know that we know anything different. And back when, as you talk about, I'm 55, and how long can you keep doing this? And hopefully Lipscomb's going to have me for a long time, but I'm still enjoying it. So it's not anything that I'm looking to give up anytime soon.
Well, you just racked up your 500th win, right? And then I've got some notes right here about last year in the 21-22 season. You guys won the ASUN West Division regular season title and the ASUN Championship semifinal round in the tournament, right at the end. So you guys are. You're still killing it. You're still doing it.
We're close. We didn't. Obviously everybody's goal is we have a goal. We want to play in June. When you play in June, that means you've made the NCAA tournament. We're trying to get to trying to qualify for being one of those 64 teams in the regional. And we were close this time. We got had a great win in the first round of the tournament. We had a walk-off home run in the ninth inning, which was just a huge thing. And then we got beat by that same team in the semifinal. And at that point, it was anybody's game. Kennesaw was a good team. Liberty was a good team. They both made the postseason. So we were right there, and we did. We had a good season. We really did. As it gets further and further away from the last game, you can look back on it, and we did do some things that we accomplished what we wanted to accomplish. And I think we put ourselves in a good spot. But wins usually take care of themselves when we do what we're supposed to do. And our goal is to in all phases of the game we have a standard we want to get to, and when we get to that standard, we usually have a good chance to win the game. And like you said, we're competing against there's 300 Division I baseball teams, and all the audience knows who we're talking about. You see the ones that play in Omaha. We're playing next year. We're playing Mississippi State, who won the national championship in 21. We're going to Auburn. We're playing at Auburn for 3 games.
That's a great stadium.
They were in the World Series. This past year, we got Notre Dame coming in to play us at home.
That's awesome.
To open the season. We play Georgia Tech. We play Louisville, Vandy, Tennessee. So all teams that are in the top, I'll say 25 in the country, usually year in and year out. So we're competing against the best, and I feel like that's that's exciting for me. And I have to shake myself sometimes. I still get that opportunity to do that, because my wife reminds me, you remember, this is really what you wanted to do back when you were coaching in high school and back when you were at Trevecca. You wanted that opportunity to do that. And, I look at it every day, and sometimes I forget, but, such a, really great thing that we have going. And, looking forward to next season. We got a really tough schedule, but, the league is good, and, but we got a team coming back that I think we can do some damage with that tough schedule, but we'll see when it plays out.
Every team is so unique and different, because you could take, if none of the players had a jersey on, if everything was the same, just white T-shirt, and you took all the kids from all those schools you just mentioned, and yours included, they wouldn't stand out. They wouldn't. They would obviously stand out, but they would just kind of blend together, right? And another thing, a great lesson that you taught me that's helped us a ton in business, is that you always told us the team was the best tool we had. Like that, just any shortcomings in yourself or anything else, just lean on the team.
That's right. Decisions are made. You can't be made for the individual. It always has to be made for the team. That was Coach Meyer. And Coach Meyer, I have that on my door to this day. And, the players know that we all care about them as coaches, and we want the best for them individually. But the decisions are made, if you have to ask, a decision's made on the team first. Right. And when we make that decision, I think that when we try to keep consistency with that, I think that helps us be, and that's what helps develop and put the best team out there.
That's right. All right. So, I had another question too. You mentioned Stipe, right? So, that kid was a good player,
right?
And did you know any of that? He's gone off to big time stardom as an MMA fighter and a personality, and he's great at it, and he's good, and he's in. All of his endorsements and everything. He's a pro, man.
I've talked to him, once or twice since all of that success, and some of the guys that played with him, still go to see him and go watch him fight and all that. But he's got a family now. People don't, you only see the big strong. He's got kids, and he just seems like that he's doing great as well. And all the paths that you guys have taken. Who would have ever thought that he's going to be a MMA fighter and be the the world champion? And here he is. I don't know if that's his identity, because he's a husband and father, and doing great at that, it seems like. And haven't been able to keep up with him as much as I as I would like to, but I did get to talk to him a couple of times, and seems like he's doing great. But when Brad Kuhn told me years ago that, hey, this big guy wants to transfer from wherever he was, I was like, well, if he wants to come down here, we'll see what he can do. And then I was a pretty good baseball player, while he was here, and biggest kid on the team, just loved it like nobody's business. And he used to whip up on people in the locker room, so maybe that's what got him started with his other. But just crazy stories about that with all the guys. So,
looking back at 30 years of doing this, one of the questions I was going to ask you was, staying grounded and always remembering the greatest. They do it in TV shows. We were talking about it yesterday in a meeting about how the CEO of U.S. Health Group, Troy, one of the things I learned from him is every time he's given a company update or anything like that, he always reminds us how we got to this point, in which is going to lead us to the next direction that we're going. And you just mentioned before that Karen reminds you from time to time that why you did it when you first started in it. So those founding principles are so important. Just like you have a first meeting of the year, and you tell the guys this is what it's about and what we're going to do, and you probably have to remind them from time to time.
Always. I mean, we can't go into this next season because we had good success last year. I mean, we got to build on it. Just like you were talking about with your company, you have a meeting about how we got here, but wow, now everybody saw where we can go. Yeah. So now what's going to come next? How are we going to lay the foundation for what's going to happen with this team? And I look forward to that every year. And like I say, every team is different. I made one of the mistakes you asked me earlier. I made a mistake that we were trying to replicate the same culture a couple of years ago that we had in 20 in the COVID season when we played 15 or so games, but we had a great culture going, and I challenged the guys to get that same culture back, get it back. It was a whole different team.
Yeah.
And I made a huge mistake by challenging them to find that same culture when we had most of the same players back, and we had some additions that came in that actually made us better on the field, but for whatever reason we didn't connect like I needed to Gotcha. I wanted us to connect, and it was my fault because I was asking them to search for the same thing when really it needed to just evolve organically from what's happening with this team, that particular team. And I think we did a better job of that this year. The guys, winning helps that as well. Winning always helps that culture
Absolutely.
Pull together. So I really think that I think it's a byproduct of both. It's connected. Winning is directly connected to all those other little things that we talked about earlier in the show. And I'm just I'm a firm believer that all those things add up to make the whole the best it can be.
All right, so one of the biggest struggles that I had, as we bring this sucker to a close, one of the biggest struggles that I had is after I was done with baseball, I really didn't know who I was. It was like I had a major identity crisis.
I think a lot of them do. I think when guys finish playing, it's like that's all you've done for 18, 19, 20, 25, 26, 7 years, and then all of a sudden I got to fall into life. So I think your statement is exactly right.
So what are some, I think that there's still a void. I love, first of all as a person that launches a lot of businesses, hires a lot of people, I love the athletes because they come with a little bit of more fight than the average person. They're a little bit more, we're always looking for leaders, and leaders usually identify themselves at some point, and we're always looking for people that will make everybody else better around them. That's what leaders do. They influence people in the right way. But I feel like there's still a big void. I think it took me years to figure out who I was and what I was going to do and how I was going to make this place better than I found it. Yeah. What are some things that, so who are some people that have done it well and what were what I don't know the answer. That's why I'm asking you.
Right. And again, we even had several years ago, we even had a conversation about that in a staff meeting with our athletic director all the way down about, what are we doing for these guys and these girls when they finish playing? What's the next step? And whether you can go through and you major in whatever you major in, and then now it's time to get a job, and you may not feel like that the direction is what I think they all are looking for. And I think some of them don't even really know. They majored in accounting. Well, I really want to jump into this and get a job behind a desk? And they realize that might not be what I want to do, and helping them. So they tried to come up with a mentor program where, guys can go talk to different people in different aspects of,
I would love to do
life.
That.
And it's like we had some of our alumni come over and talk to the team a little bit about, hey, what to expect when this is over. You probably are going to feel like you're a little bit of a fish out of water a little bit and not know, because you wake up and now part of their day is at some point I got to go throw the ball. At some point I got to get in the batting cage. Even during the off season, I've got to prepare for that. Mm-hmm. And then when that's over, then what? But you're going to try a lot of different things. I think about a lot of you guys that have gotten into different things, and this worked, this didn't work, and you'll end up finding your niche, I think. But I think at the beginning, for some people, floundering might be a bad word. They're not really, but I think all players are motivated to find the next thing. But sometimes it takes some a little bit longer than others. But I think once with the career, the playing career over, I do think that guys can do a lot of different things. You major in whatever in school, you said it, businesses, people want to hire athletes because they have had some failure. They have had some adversity they've had to get through. And I think they look at that like, well, that's a plus. So
Absolutely.
even if your degree might be in one field and then all of a sudden you find yourself interviewing in another field, and I have a thing on our team and with guys, and most of the time when you finish playing, one of the coaches, the head coach, most likely is going to be on your resume. Mm-hmm. They call coach, going to put you on my resume. So I've told them all from the very beginning. I'll tell them at the first meeting, don't put me on there if you don't know wholeheartedly when somebody calls me about you working for them, if I'm not immediately going to say hire that guy. So if they ask me a question, hey, does he work good? Does he work well with others? Okay, stop asking me that question. Bottom line is, whatever you do, I may not even know what you do. But if you're calling me about player X and you ask me about him and asking, my first instinct is hire that guy, because it's hard for me to
did
kind of hem-haw around and say, I think Johnny's growing up. I think he's going to be better. It'd be good if you gave him a chance. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yep.
I want you to play. If you're here 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, or 4 years at Lipscomb, when you finish, if any of your coaches are asked by your next employer and you can't immediately say hire that guy, then you haven't done what you need to do, and we haven't made the relationship that we need to make.
Wow.
So I've tried to challenge them a little bit with that. So that's one of our things we call it hire that guy.
Man, that's awesome. I love that. That's fantastic. I didn't know that. I wish we'd have had that way back in the day. I might have handled myself a little differently.
We probably did, but y'all just didn't know we had it. We didn't verbalize it.
Or you said it, and it was one of those things that I didn't hear.
Yeah, it was that day you and Baker were messing around.
Well, I would love the mentorship. I don't know. I really struggled with that for a long time, and for like 6, 7, 8 years, and it was something that ate me alive. You feel like you're here to do something. You feel like you got something to offer, and you have no idea what it is or how to do it. And all you're looking is for an outlet and an opportunity. And like, man, nobody. I had all these. I had this great education, and not one piece of that education taught me how to generate $1.
That's right.
I had no idea how to make anything that I was taught make money.
And these guys don't have to finish school, finish playing, and immediately go into the job that you're going to work for the next 30 years.
That's right.
You don't have to. It'll take time, and you'll get into something that'll lead you to something else that'll lead you to what you're going to possibly do for 30 years. And I think it's just one of those things that I think guys, they do struggle with it, but it's not going to be struggle for long. They're going to end up finding their way.
Absolutely. Well, man, I would anytime you ever need anybody, if he gets that low on the totem pole, you call me.
That's right.
But I love working with those young athletes, and this is that time of year from a recruiting state. We recruit too, and this is that time of year when a lot of kids are getting out of school, finishing up that summer semester, and it's a great recruiting time for us right now. So I love it. All right, so we talked about what's next. We talked about the family. You told us basically the lessons you learned in your career, man. Like it's just always awesome to have you on and hang out and catch up and again, I guess we could have prepared you a little bit more. You didn't know the cameras and everything else was going to be.
And this is a great setup. I just I'm not shocked, but you guys are doing this right. This is a cool place, and just again, the chance for me and you to talk is fun, and to some of the memories, and bringing up some of the names and the blasts from the past. That's so cool, because you guys really you guys kicked my college career off in coaching, and I'm blessed to get to that we did struggle for 15 and 40 that first year, because it taught me some lessons now that I'm grateful, and now that we go back and I see you guys flourishing, and sons, husbands, and fathers, that's what y'all are doing, and that's the main thing. And we all want to win more games that first year, but hey, we go back now, we can talk about our struggles, but you guys are doing it, so that's what's really, really great for me to see.
Well, Coach, it's you're always welcome. It's always great to have you. Obviously, for if they want to keep up with the the Great Bison program, lipscombsports.com. It's on Instagram. Like Rhymes does a great job of keeping all that stuff rocking and rolling. You guys are all over social media. It's fantastic. You guys just had a couple guys get drafted in the recent draft. That's always fun to see.
Great.
You've coached some. We mentioned a couple of your players. You've had some guys go off and do Hollywood stuff. I mean, it's just cool. It's got to be cool to sit back and watch all those people go off and do.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing
things.
what where the careers go, and nobody like I said, sometimes guys don't even know that Lipscomb's going to be their destination, but it's definitely a chapter in their book that they hopefully they enjoyed while they were here.
It's a beautiful spot in Nashville, that's for sure, man. So, well, anything else?
No, man, this is fun.
It was. I sure appreciate you coming on. Once again, guys, the Lipscomb University head baseball coach, Jeff Forehand. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Hit Streak. I am your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.